Yo, if you go back and look at our Sunday session we did, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
We were pretty spot on.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Pretty spot on.
So I made some notes.
All right, let's see. Where's yields? Chat. Oh, there we go. Move that.
Okay. Let more people in. About 1 minute till we start. As usual, we will go through the macro. What's up? What's up? We'll go through the macro. We'll go through all of the smaller parts of the picture. And then we'll do ticker breakdown. So if anybody here wants specific ticker broken down, remember, don't just put the ticker plus your bias so that we actually understand where you're coming from for the idea itself. Also, if you can put yourself on mute, well, that would be super helpful if you can mute yourself. Okay. Shall we start? Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it going.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna start off this session by saying, are you guys ready for 6,000 on SPX? Because I think
That's a great way to start it.
The way this is moving right now reminds me a lot of about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where we had the previous wave of credit that came into the market. And I think I'm just going to overall go through each of the points so that we can kind of get this started. Let me show the screen real quick. Okay, how that? So first things first is I want to highlight the fact that the US economy is extremely resilient right now. We haven't seen any of much slowdown in the job market. We haven't seen any much slowdown. Okay, job market has been a bit kinky, but more or less has been very strong. But now the recent numbers that have come up, CPI, blah, 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 everything, right? This has pretty much at this point reduced the likelihood that there will be a hard landing scenario. And that's what the market's pricing in here. How do I know that? See, I don't just pull out things out of my ass, right? The reason why I know that is because bond yields are up, which means that at the end of the day, people are moving away from short-term safety. Okay, that's the reason why you're seeing some of the bond market correct downward, right? Now, does that mean that we're going to see a scenario where the SPX, right, and the 10-year yield become uncorrelated for a while? Yes, that is possible. But does that mean that uncorrelation will last forever? No, that is not right. So what I'm trying to explain to you here is we are in a moment where we are shifting gears, where the 10-year yield is going to be delinked. Last time what happened was when the 10-year yield was moving up, the stock market was also moving up. Now you see the stock market moving up and the 10-year yield moving up, but bonds selling off the other way. So it's been moving the reverse from where we were 2 years ago, prior to when the bear market started, and there was a lot of appetite for bonds. Now we are seeing that kind of move the other way. Now, you can see from the TLT chart here, right? 10-year bond, 20-year plus bond. If you want to just see the entire bond market, you can use BND, which is entire bond market. And you can see we broke out of your structure We created that liquidity imbalance, and then we came back down. And all we are doing is now coming back down to validate this level as a support for the next leg up. So this short-term move in bond yields to the upside here is telling me a bunch of things about the economy, and it's also telling me a bunch of things about dealer dynamics and how much of risk they're willing to take on within the bond market in this moment. So a lot of people are selling in the short run, but they have to buy it back in the long run again. So this is just but a little bump in the major road that we're seeing. Okay, so that's your first part. Your second part is going to be talking about mainly the fact that a lot of market participants, I feel, are hedged pretty tightly up here. Okay, a lot of people are hedged pretty tightly. The way I've been looking at this, the amount of volume that's been coming in intraday, and the amount of interest that's building in the 57.25, let's just say 57.15 all the way to 57.55, this region here is causing me to think that there is a lot of market maker hedging going on in this area, and there's a lot of activity going on in this area. And if the market does move further up, what's going to happen? All of these hedges are going to have to be wound, okay, which means that they will go away. And that's going to add an even bigger boost to the S&P 500 to the upside. So I know a lot of you, when you're in this phase of the market, it's so difficult for you to believe that a bull market just continues to run like this. This is nothing. This is actually nothing yet. I'm just making it super clear that we have seen market conditions in the past when credit cycles were being reset, where the market was up for 30 days straight. We have seen it before, okay? So don't ever try to bet on a downtrend when the market's in a clear uptrend is what I'm trying to tell you. And that's my thesis from today's session. It's the trend is up. The trend is your friend. Stop trying to bet against it. It's pointless. You'll get yourself into a mess, right? So don't take obsessively big short positions. What is the blue indicator on the right for volume? This is VPVR. VRVP, sorry. Visible volume profile. You can add it in TradingView indicators and you type VRVP. I've made some amendments to mine, obviously, because I don't personally say I've changed the roll size to 200 and changed the visibility. Like I don't need it to tell me whether it's bull or bear, it doesn't matter. Okay, anyway, my point is going back to the analysis. So now another one minor thing here is next month is election month, okay? There is a little bit of uncertainty around that. But if the elections passes through, like, with no issues, then what we're going to see is this market will have even more prime to rally in December season. So what I'm positioning you guys for is a very simple methodology. Remain bullish until otherwise. There is no reason for you to see another bunny ear here. Now, if you look at volatility also, it's been kind of flattening a little bit, right? No longer big peaks and spikes, but it's kind of coming down. And if this continues to come down, it's going to cause a little bit of issues because that's going to cause price action to be a bit stale, if you get what I mean. When there's no volatility, means people are not betting on either side. It might cause price action to move sideways for a little while, which typically we see in this kind of a dynamic. So dealers are currently loaded with short volatility positions, I would assume, right? And if something happens, they could be forced into massive buybacks if the market moves higher, right? So this is what we call Vanna tailwind, right? The unwinding of volatility hedges would also bring this kind of a scenario in which equity market liquidity will start increasing, okay? And that's something that I want to be aware of. Now, the last thing is corporate buybacks. Now, I've spoken about corporate buybacks before as well. And remember, I told you guys 2 weeks ago that we are in a corporate buyback blackout window. Okay. So you remember the market works in cycles. It's quite predictable. You need to know when what is happening, and then you can understand, right? So I told you guys September all the way into October, we typically see corporate buyback blackout, number one. And number two, what happens? Rebalancing happens. So these are the months in which a lot of PMs, portfolio managers, are taking profits off the table, betting, increasing risk exposure in one sector or another, making all these calls whatsoever. Okay. So now corporate buyback window is going to start picking up again. And on top of that, you have a new earnings season coming. Okay, so from the macro point, there are a lot of things that are going to be moving in the next 1 month. So the stage is set for this to be a nice move to the upside. And of course, we're also going to see what Andrew's data says here in a second. So just from this macro analysis point of view, that's all I have for you guys right now. And I'll hand it to Andrew. And you're muted.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. Make sure I have everything set up real quick. Okay, we're good. All right. All right. So I'm very similar to T's stance, as you guys will see. Right. If we go back to just last week when we were here on Sunday and we're looking at the playbook, and we go back, I'm referencing back because you're going to see a lot of the similar things as they roll their positions. But if we just go back to last week, we had there we go. It's right here. We had a high for bulls of around 580, as you guys can see right here. Right. So we had a high of about 580, low of 563. We could see that the algorithm was building short positions to start the week, showing a possible pullback, which is what we kind of planned for. And this is important because when we look at the playbook for that week and we look at what we were kind of looking for right here, right? We were looking for this drawdown to start the week and then buy up off of that and then push us up into this 580 level, right? And so if we look at how it kind of ended, here's just a little breakdown of how the week went, right? We had that little drawdown to start the week and then a little push, a small consolidation, pushed up higher. And then we had that nice strong push up into 580 to close out the week. So our plan was pretty spot on. One of the things that told us that this was a possibility was the gamma buildup, which I usually post right here, was the gamma buildup that we saw at this 580 level, right? We could see it right here. At the time, there was this huge amount of gamma exposure at 580, which kind of gave us insight into that being a possible target. And then we also knew that market makers or dealers were short 580, right? So therefore, as price pushed up into that level, buying had to kick in. Now, if price breaks over 580, it's going to get real interesting, which I'm going to show you guys. This is important because as we look at this week, we can see that the biggest levels of exposure are 580 and 585. Right. And so now if we go back and we look at the playbook for this week, we see that the level for the bulls is 585.72. So we're looking for that move on the upside up into that 585 area. And then the bears are looking for 572. Right. So if we take a look again, very similar. The short term, we're seeing a small pullback into kind of 577, 576. We see the same thing with SPX here. Very similar. We see SPY here on the next 5 days showing 572. So we see that possible drawdown early to start the week, which is what I'm hoping for, to give us the opportunity to buy at a better price. And then that expansion towards the back end of the week. Now, very similar to what T said, when you look at sectors, financials had a great start to their earnings season as they broke the high here and pushed into the upside. But the two sectors that are kind of lagging here are technology, right? And they go into earnings this week with mega caps kicking off. And then also discretionary, right, also hasn't quite had that push up into the all-time highs area. So those are two areas that I'd be paying attention to going into this week, especially with tech and mega caps kicking off earnings season. So what I'm kind of looking for here this week is going to be a small drawdown. Again, I hope it's bigger down into kind of this 570, 572 area, like the algorithm shows, give better price for entry. But if we clear this 580 level, you can see there's buying pressure right here, which I'll show you. If we clear this 580 level, we're looking for that push, that squeeze, as market makers have to start buying to cover their hedges and push up into this 585 area, right? So buying pressure tells us, we can look at it, right? We can go in here and we can see what buying pressure is for those that are not connected. Let's see. There we go. We can actually see what this is. So for those that don't know, when you buy a position, right, somebody's on the other side of that position. That's usually a market maker. So let's see if it will load here real quick. If not, I'll just pull it up. So let's pull it up here. So you can see here, the market makers are short 580, which means if price breaks over 580, they have to then buy shares to hedge this risk. That's why we call it buying pressure. So if price gets over this 580 level, this is going to create a squeeze on the market makers, which is going to push price up towards this 585 gamma target. So like T said, the market can go higher, right? The market is pushing all-time highs, and we haven't even seen the mega caps break into those levels yet. Amazon, Apple, Meta just hit it. Microsoft is lagging heavily. So if those companies do well on earnings and they start to come back, the market is very easily going to make a move up towards this kind of 585 level, which is what I'm looking at. So just pay attention to 580. That's going to be the most important part. I put selling pressure flip point here because if you go through the data here, you can see right here on the 1018 contracts, there's selling pressure at 580. So very little, but it's right there. It's not a ton amount, but it's there. So over 580 is only going to get stronger if we break over that level. So you're going to have that selling pressure decrease. You're going to have the buying pressure increase from this massive short position on the 1025 contracts. Not to mention, you also have it on the 11-1 contracts as well. So that's going to increase, and that's going to push price towards that gamma exposure. You can see it here on the chart here if you want to see it as well. Here's the 1025. You can see there's the 580 exposure. Here's the 11-1. There's the 585 exposure. So you can see a break of that 580 level easily could push you up into that 585 area. All right. So pay attention to 580 this week. It's going to be a really important level if we get over it. The other thing to note for those that are connected to dealer environments, we did see their deltas go negative, which means we are now in a buy the dip environment. So dealers are positive gamma, price decreases, their deltas decrease, and they must buy more shares to hedge, right? So over 580, they're buying more shares to hedge. That supports that idea that if we get over this 580 level, the market could very easily melt up into 585 or even potentially higher as the market makers get squeezed on those contracts. So, T, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I want to show you guys some craziness that I found. And
Cool.
this, I think we went over the first round of craziness not long ago. Let me just share my screen real quick. I posted, my views on NVIDIA a while back, and that was prior to the breakout that happened. So let me just kind of recap this so that you guys can understand the context of what I'm talking about. So as NVIDIA came down into this pocket back in September, we saw a lot of unusual options activity betting on a huge upside move up into the 125s. Now, we made a lot of money from this trade in the last cycle, and now we have seen just this past week some craziness. I don't know if any of your scanners picked this up, but on our Golden Flow channel on Discord, look at the amount of multi-million dollar bet flows on NVIDIA that came in, okay, last week. And this is not where it ends, okay? So just count with me. This is 5 million, 10 million, right? Another 5 here, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? Another 10 here, that's 40. Another 3 here, that's 43, 46, right? And more all the way here. Look at this, right? There's close to $100 million bets on Amazon hitting the 180s strikes by March 2025. All right. Now, what may be the catalyst of this event? It could be guidance on Blackwell. I don't know if you guys follow NVIDIA in the semiconductor space, but they are slated to announce updates on their most advanced semiconductor chip in December, November time. And this stock is flirting with all-time highs. For some of you that don't own shares, for example, at $100, but then you want to get in long on NVIDIA, you can do it. You can augment yourself a options position that is hedged and gives you upside exposure for very cheap. You can do it through debit spreads. You can do it through a synthetic long. There are many ways you can do it, right? We can talk about it more on the trading floor. For those of you that are interested, tag me, at me, ask me, hey, how do we do it? I'll reply you, right? And I'll give you some ideas on how you can do it, right? But there's a lot of possibility for NVIDIA to rally. And then I just wanted to do a quick little recap on where the sectors are. So as Andrew was talking about earlier, tech is one of the lagging sectors, still has to push into these all-time highs before breaking out, right? So this is one of the things that we are watching thematically is your laggards, which is your Amazon, which is your Apple, which is your Google. Now, Google is a special case. Obviously, just going to touch on this for 1 minute. Antitrust cases can lag the stock price for a very long time because investors are just panicky. But once that situation improves, then I'll see Google come back up. So, as I like to say, cheap can get cheaper. Don't need to rush and get shares right now. But I've already told you guys, my first alert to buy Google shares was when it came down to 148. I told all of you all about this, right? And if you wanted to add shares, that was a good spot. From there, it has gone up about 10 to 15%. So now you will get another opportunity here. So as I said, you don't need to rush, right? And then your Meta is doing really well. Microsoft is doing pretty poorly. Your Tesla and your NVIDIA are about to break all-time high, and Netflix just broke all-time high. So the market's kind of in a funk in terms of mega caps, okay? And next was energy. Now, energy sector, the only specific pick that I like is Oxy, okay? It's the only one that I like because it's sold off. It's, had some bad sentiment behind it. And you know me, I don't like to buy things at full price. I like discounts. And this stock is trading at almost a 50% discount. So I don't see why not, right? And then we saw unusual options activity the 2 weeks prior before I left. And what did the options activity say? That there was a rally likely at 55. And then I told you guys there are 55 calls sold at this area. So therefore, what's going to happen? You're going to have a pullback. So this pullback here on Oxy will allow me to start a broader long position once I get confirmation. Okay, so you see the way that we do things. It's a very, you have to take a long-term approach with things. You're building a case, you're building a study, you're building a entire scenario behind your trade. You're attached to the, fundamentals and techniques, not just one way. So just want to put that out there. And then so just from energy sector, it's just XLE that I like. Financials breaking out here because of earnings season speculation. Healthcare has been selling off. And I told you guys, only when healthcare rallies is where you see the correction in the stock market, right? And then you have your consumer staples that are down, consumer discretionaries, just flagging. All of these are flagging, by the way. All of these are flagging, right? They're all bull flags. Industrials continues to be strong. This is not cheap capital that's going to come up in the elections cycle, right? And then you have real estate, which is pulling back here. So now some of you that don't own real estate yet, if you don't own REITs or something like that, you want to own real estate through your prop portfolio. When this thing comes back down and starts making some consolidation above the previous highs in this area, right, you'll be able to grab a upside exposure. So just pointing that out there. Utilities to continue to be strong bid here. I think that this, secular trend, you look at where we started talking about utilities, right? The first time ever was here. And I told you guys about how it's going to cause a huge rally. The need for AI tech is going to cause a huge rally for utilities because of the sheer power consumption, right? And then we had a pullback and then a massive rally again. These two green arrows are where I told you guys entry into long utilities. Massive, massive rallies. So the thematics behind these only point to a handful of sectors that are beneficial to trade, which to me are going to be your consumer staples, discretionary, and real estate, which are all pulling back. Utilities also, but it's a bit less of exciting opportunity. And then just two other setups that I'm watching: Affirm for unusual options activity, and also Upstart for unusual options activity. These two have been bid. And we could see another one of those, 2020, 2021 craziness with these two stocks, where valuations start to get driven up by cheap capital, things like that. And yeah, that's all I have.
Awesome. All right. All right, let's get into your guys' questions, and we'll go from there. So, just so you guys can see, Microsoft, this is kind of what I have from Microsoft right now. It needs to clear 420. So this is Microsoft's we had this nice liquidity grab down here, broke the golden pocket. You can see the order block come in right there. And then we pushed up into 420. So close over 420 could be clean movement here for Microsoft. It might be earnings, to be honest, but we'll have to wait and see. But 420 here looks really good. And that's the biggest gamma level, right? With me, there always has to be data to support why I'm entering something. So 420 right there is your biggest level. So I like Microsoft 420. Tesla just had the event, right? So, you're in the golden pocket. You need to see buyers step in here. If not, you're looking at more downside. But if it can hold in the golden pocket here, 220 is probably your key level you're paying attention to. Yeah, it looks like you've got pretty good support here at 200. So it's got to stay above 200, and then 225 is your next biggest level. So I'm just going to move these real quick. This is 225 and 200, which is all the way down here. So if it breaks the golden pocket, I would expect 200. That's nothing, so we're going to get rid of that. Yeah, so your two biggest levels here are 225. And if it breaks the golden pocket, meaning it closes below, you could just say if it closes below this, 214-ish, we're probably coming all the way down to 200. So, in phase, looks like it's in this order block. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really going on here. I mean, it needs to bounce here. This has been consolidating in this wave for this whole time. So you can see nothing has really changed here. You're just consolidating this whole area. So if you like it down here, I mean, yeah, you could take a shot, but there's not a lot to like. So you've got support here at 100. This is basically it. So if it loses 100, you're in trouble. So I would say as long as you stay above 100, you're probably in an okay place right there. Other than that, I would be careful. Let me get rid of that one.
So,
and this one you already hit. So
just a word of overall caution. Whenever you see setups like this in a box, don't try to speculate. Wait for the price action to move out of the box. Wait for it to confirm that it's using the extreme points of the box as either a support or resistance, key pivot, and then take the price action from there. When you see a chart just going sideways, just skip through, go find something else. There are so many tickers out there that have opportunities that money is flowing into. I wouldn't focus on it. It's just not with
Yeah,
me.
your other option is play the box.
Yeah,
So right, so if you're playing the box, like this is your short,
yeah. And then where
and
you
this is your
are,
stop loss up here,
Mhm.
and then this is your long,
Yeah,
and then your stop loss is the low, right? And that gives you a pretty good risk to reward if you're
yeah,
playing the range. The hardest thing to do is buy the top of the box and time the breakout.
yeah.
You'll almost never get that right because basically the reason it's being held down is this bear right here,
Mhm.
right? And the question that you can't answer is how much money does this person have?
Mhm.
And so they can sit there and short this thing for a year if they have to.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where you get with things like this. But then when it does break out, you get a pretty good move. So
Yeah. The
uh
one thing that I specifically don't like about this chart here that you have put up is the
oh yeah.
long wicks on either side, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just all fuckery. So when there's fuckery
Well,
like this, I tend to stay out.
yeah. All
Um,
right.
what's your perspective on Melly after a nice drawdown? Okay, so Melly is currently overvalued by about 10% from the fundamental perspective. This was a good stock when it was trading at around $600, $700. Added a little bit to my long-term portfolio, but a very small amount because I don't have exposure in emerging
Yeah.
markets. And this stock is a good exposure into emerging markets. Um, and more importantly here, it looks like it bounced off and is trying to reclaim all-time highs, but it bounced off the previous all-time highs back in 2021, 2020, like April or March, sorry, February to September
Did
last
he go back that far? Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah, back here.
back, yeah. That so it's bounced
Yeah.
off those highs, and we'll have to see if it can build a base here. But one thing I don't like is that this stock has got very inconsistent cash flows. So
Yeah.
personally, from the long-term perspective, I would add a little bit to my long-term perspective only if it draws down 40%, 30%. Then only I would add some. From the trading perspective, since it's so close to all-time highs and in a very tight range, I don't want to take that setup.
This is
That's
an easy one. If it closes over 2100, you break the gamma, you break the golden pocket, it most likely pushes back up to 2160.
yeah, you're
If
all
it rejects here, you reject the golden pocket, and you most likely then in that case come down into the next GP, which is going to be off of this until it breaks this trend, right? So then it's going to come all the way back down here to 2100 to 2000. So
yeah,
you're either going to break over 2100, you're going to make a move to 2160, or you're going to reject 2100 and you're going to come all the way down to 2000.
correct.
So from a short term perspective, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Booking reached
Yeah, I'm gonna look at
4,400,
booking right now. I
like you mentioned.
charted it last week for this guy.
How can it move next?
I'm just gonna put this golden pocket here for myself because I know someone will
Hey,
ask me about that next
everyone
week.
who's putting tickers, sorry, as we were mentioning at the beginning, it'll be really helpful if you can put your bias down because it's as people who are kind of helping you validate, we don't want to get into confirmation bias here. So
Yeah.
give us your bias so that we know that we're giving you constructive feedback.
Okay, so this is an example of the golden pocket, right? We came down into it, buyer stepped in, pushed it right back up. Obviously, it would broke what would have been the other golden pocket, right? And then pushed into the high. So this is another pretty simple one. 5,300 is going to be your gamma level here. So you can pull it up and you can see BKNG, right? And so there's a lot of different levels, but there's 5,300 right there. So you got to close over 5,300. From there, it gets kind of hairy because you don't have anything that's clear. So you don't really like to point to a lot. In this situation, usually in a consolidation like this, I just put this in a box and then I look to see which way it breaks. So over 5,300, 5,350 would probably be next. I think that's what the next one is. Is it? Yeah, 5,350 is next. Then it's basically 50-point intervals. So 5,350, 4,400, and then you have a 100-point jump here from 4,400 to 4,500. But 5,300 is your biggest level. So you need to close over 4,300 to even be able to confirm anything here for that push up to 5,350. Now, based on this wave here, your extensions are 5,355 and 4,455. So that would be the completion of this wave if this were to play out. You'd get that. But you need to clear 5,300 for that move and then clear that for that move. Rejection of 5,300, you could short, but again, I don't like to short things in price discovery. It's one of my rules. So
Yeah, that's that one takes so long to also learn. You, as a trader,
yeah,
you're so hardwired to try and take the opposite direction because you want your ego to be fueled. Uh,
yeah. Z and U.
Z
Z is
and
an
U.
interesting one.
Yeah, so I like Zillow. It's really plays nicely into the more
Oh
credits
yeah, look
and
at that bounce.
thematic. Yeah, I
Oh
like.
man,
Very nice price action close. This is a good find. I appreciate you sharing, whoever it was, iPhone.
yeah, this is a good one.
Zillow,
Right off those previous highs.
yeah, looks beautiful. And if it can continue to bounce above, let me give you the exact 65.80. Yeah,
65,
around there.
80. Okay,
Like
let's see
literally,
what the data says.
yeah, not that far from where you
Oh
were.
yeah, this is an easy one.
Yeah.
You've got gamma at 65 and you've got gamma at 70. And I love when gamma builds up like this because that tells you, right, that it's on this pathway. So 65, 70, you see how there's nothing above that. So that kind of tells you like this is going to be a tough resistance when it gets there, unless one of these starts to build up,
Yeah.
right?
It's not
So yeah,
moving contract.
this one looks good.
Yeah. I like this.
I
I'm going
like
to
this
put
one.
this on the snipe list for this week. Thank you for your
Yeah, yeah,
contribution. Um,
yeah. So that's a gamma right there. We're going to call that gamma resistance. And then we're going to add 70 as the gamma target.
Such a clean bounce.
Such a clean bounce. And then if you want to add in the golden pocket, which will be your first area, probably of some resistance, it's about 65 to 66.
Yeah,
Right?
65.80 is where I have as the key pivot.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
65.80 breaks 65.80, then bounces 65.80. You have a nice long entry there, with pretty decent risk to reward.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a good one.
you
You,
Unity is you Unity.
yeah, it's Unity.
Hmm.
Maybe bull flag. The problem you have here is this giant order block.
Mm.
So you technically need to clear this area. I like this for a golden pocket. That's why I have this arrow coming down to either back test this breakout here and come off of this, or it needs to clear this order block. The challenge with things like this is I mean, even the bull flag, you could play the bull flag. It just still needs to clear this order block. My experience, when you get big order blocks like this, you try to think it's going to break it and it just doesn't. And then you get kind of bummed. Let's see. It's cleared the biggest level. That's a good sign. So it's over 20. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's still good.
I think it needs to clear
25.
25 and bounce. It needs to
Yeah.
clear 25 and bounce for this one. Then only would I be interested in taking longs. Otherwise, it just continues being rejected. That's the way I look at it for Unity.
Yeah. I would like it off of this like 18-ish area would be a sweet entry
Yeah.
off of this wave. That would be ideal for me. I don't like to buy things into the rally. Uh, and my fear would be this order block here. So over this order block, you've got a lot of room,
Yeah.
but not there yet.
Arm. I don't really
What is
like
it?
the
Oh,
setup.
arm.
Yeah, next
Yeah,
arm.
arm's an easy one. I've got that one all charted up.
I just don't like the setup that much compared to NVIDIA or something else. AMD.
Similar situation too with this order block here on the 4 hour. So you can see it again. You've got this order block here, rejected there, You're going at it a third time. Now, this comes into the double top emotional fuckery, right? And if you guys watch the video, then you know, right? People have their orders set here. And if this breaks, this can turn into a squeeze and you get a nice little push here. So
Better
you
than
do
this
need to
setup,
clear this order block, though.
better than this setup is AMD.
Is which one?
AMD.
Oh, AMD? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion,
Yeah.
AMD is a better setup than ARM.
So
Just
you're over the biggest level, which is 60 or 150. You don't have anything building to the upside. So as long as you're over 150, you're okay. It still needs to break this order block though. So that, and then I would expect 158 to 167. This is also a big order block up here, which I think is daily chart. Yeah, there it is. So this is also another big order block up here. So even if you break through here, you can still reject that. So just keep that in mind. FedEx. FedEx is an interesting one.
oh yeah, that one we spoke about like 1 quarter ago. Massive mover. Now
Um,
finally,
Not a huge fan of the chart personally. Um, Short term, I think I have this thing charted on a shorter term basis. Yeah, like I just have it on this little golden pocket bounce off this wave, but this one's, I mean, if you're looking at it short term, it's just a box here. From a long term perspective, I would need to know kind of why, maybe holiday push or something. It needs to clear this high to make that golden pocket a reality. The golden pocket is based off of this wave here. That's what this golden pocket is. But you need to clear this to make this a reality, right? So there's still a lot that needs to happen here. But short term, you're just kind of in this box and you're still waiting to see which way it's going to go. If it breaks it, then you're looking at about short term 270 to 272 short term here. Let's get rid of this now. Boom, get rid of that. We'll just double check it real quick against the data. Yeah, I mean, you're holding 260, that's your support, 270, that's your resistance. So yeah, you're trapped right now. This looks like 260 is holding nice. It's all the way down here. So yeah, I think if you break out of this box to the upside, you probably hit this area. Break to the downside, you probably come back into 260. Looks like semiconductors in whole are looking to rip. Saw a lot of bullish flow. Yo, yeah, I would agree. MU bias long term, RSI diverging on the daily. MU. Let's go into the weekly here real quick.
it's in a box as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big box, but it's in a box. So 100 is, I think, your support, if I remember correctly. Not really. Biggest level is 110. So you need to break over 110. I think I have that marked. No, 110 is right here. So a close over 110 looks good. I mean, you can see here, these are weekly candles. So it's stronger. But you can see how it's never had a close over 110. So that's kind of what you're looking for. You could also use 100. So you can see it never closed below 100. So it's kind of what you're watching for here. I'll go into a smaller time frame so you can see the price action. That's the daily. Didn't quite come down to this golden pocket. Doesn't always. That's the 4 hour. So let's see. Yeah, that'd push you up into 110. So 110 is kind of your key area you're gonna have to watch for there. Again, not great, not horrible. So see bull. Okay, we already saw that. Okay. Buy stocks, VIT looking to add more shares for long-term VRT.
Um, Also, one small thing that I wanted to
I mean, you're breaking all-time high.
yeah, this one's breaking all time
I
high.
don't like to buy into stuff like this,
Same.
but
So I was going to say
um,
something. I see a lot of the ticker requests that are coming in. They're either focused on severe emotions, like some of them are all-time high scenarios and some of them
yeah,
are pullback scenarios. But I think the real shift that sometimes you have to make when selecting opportunities for the week is it should come from the perspective of supply demand imbalance rather than emotional imbalance. Not always is supply demand imbalance the same as emotional imbalance. Because, for example, a stock hitting all-time high, that's greed setting in, right? Because price discovery.
yeah.
Versus, a stock like UNH, which is flirting with all-time high. There is no, real tough way to understand where that imbalance is. Um, so yeah, try to
Let's see.
choose the imbalance ones. I
So
feel
UNH has earnings too, by the way, just a heads up. McDonald's over 305. Let's see. Did something else build? Um, kind of. 310 is building.
yeah,
I
McDonald's
wouldn't say it's gonna rip per se.
rally on McDonald's.
Yeah, like I don't know if I would say rip per se. You're still technically in this range. So, and 310 still there. I would say 310 is likely. Um, if it breaks out of here, I think easily gets to 310. I don't know if I would say rip necessarily. But yeah, I could see 310 is is a possibility. I still
Also,
have it in a
just zooming
box.
out of this chart on a daily and like going far out, you'll see like it's at the
Oh
end
yeah.
of like it's at the phase where it might get exhausted a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's had such a huge move.
Yeah.
Like it would be different if it consolidated here
Yes, exactly.
and then went
Yeah.
versus all the way off of the low.
Yeah.
But I still think you possibly could get to 310.
Yeah, 310 is possible. And then maybe a pullback after that.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I would say over 305, yeah, 310 is possible. Under 300, I would start to get really scared. So that starts to look like a big liquidity grab
XOM bullish holding.
before a move down. Uh, excellent bullish holding over 120. I think back to 125. Yeah. I think this is on the 4 hour. Yeah. So it had a nice bounce in this order block. It needs to clear 125. I think 125 is likely. Over 125, could it make a push to 130? Maybe. Um, it doesn't have any gamma building at 130. 125 is still the biggest level. So you can't say from a data standpoint that it's going to hit 130. It still has to clear 125. Um, but I mean, again, I told you guys I like to pull back into 120. I like to bounce off of 120 to confirm that 120 level, which had rejected so many times. This is a perfect example of the order blocks that I was talking about, just so you guys can see. Like when you have this giant order block here that has just been killing price, I think it was on the daily. Right there it is. You can see it established itself in May of 2024 and it rejected in July, it rejected in July, it rejected in August, it rejected in August, it rejected in end of August. And then it finally broke through and then the move took place. Right. So yeah, if this can hold above 120 and start to consolidate here, would be the best case scenario. Right. You start to trade sideways here above it and start to establish it. And then there's more upside. So yeah, I think 125, but so far we're not seeing anything build above 125. So we have to see it take out 125. UNH, yeah, it's got earnings. And again, I'm longer term on this. So short term, you've got earnings Tuesday, so the 15th. Um, Over 600, still possible. You can see it didn't close over 600, so you're still not getting anything there from a technical standpoint. You still got this random 820 exposure out here. 600 is still your biggest level, but you're not going to get that until earnings. So you're either going to rip over it in earnings or it's going to come back down. Depending on earnings, it's 50-50, so it doesn't matter. Now, what I will say is long term, I do like it because, again, this is a 2-year consolidation. This is another example of an order block can stay and hold a price down. This is back in 2022. You can see how many times this price got knocked down because of that order block, and now you're consolidating above it, right? So if earnings comes in good, you get this big move. If earnings don't, you probably come back down, and we'll just have to wait and see how that kind of plays out. But it's Tuesday morning is the earnings. So you guys already know if you're playing earnings, that's 50-50. And I wish you best of luck, but it doesn't matter what the data says. I like XM trade due to the breakout in the sector, especially with the war going on, and how sensitive those areas can be for price. Fear can drive. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, I know you told me over 305 it could go higher. So just checking. Yep, it could. Cryptos, micro strategies. Yeah, I mean, it ripped. Um, Great break out of the box. Great move. Is there more? I don't know. Yeah, you've got good exposure at 225. So breaking over 210 and then 225. Not really anything else building above that. So 225 is about here. So 225 there. So I wouldn't be surprised if crypto stays strong. Do you get to this 225 area? Probably. I mean, broke out of the box again, breaking over the order block. So it's a good move. But ideally, what you want in this situation is you want your pullback and you want your back test. I know you guys don't want that because you guys play short contracts, but what you want is that. So you can confirm that breakout.
Yeah, I think we've been seeing a little bit of interest in crypto come back in the past 1 week or so, but I think that
Oh
sentiment
yeah.
needs to build more. That's all.
Yeah, coin's kind of lagging it, hasn't really made the move here yet.
Yeah.
I think it was all the miners, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mara and all them.
Yeah, all of them kind of setting up. Little inverse head and shoulders looking thing. Again, you have that order block right here that it has to clear in order for you to get the move that you really want. So it's the question of will it get there? We'll see. Again, until Bitcoin breaks all time highs, it's all kind of whatever.
See that NVDA
So
play, I still cannot understand. 180 strikes. They're assuming a $50 move. I
I
just
could show you how that one's possible. Here's your
that's
wave.
that's assuming a what? A $4 trillion market cap, I would say.
I mean, that's the extension. Look,
Yeah.
if you play this golden pocket here, and this is the bottom of your wave and the top of your wave, this is your
Yeah.
golden pocket where all that buying came in.
Yeah.
And so if you clear this and go into price discovery, you probably go into 158, which is the first strike they bought for, right?
Mhm.
And then the second strike they bought for is up here.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Those are the two strikes they're buying. So they're rolling positions from here. I guarantee
Yeah.
you. They probably rolled those
Yeah.
positions,
Yeah. Yeah. They're rolling
and
them.
now they're going to play the extension.
And that's gonna be betting on like that's a huge bet though, 100 million. Wow.
Well, didn't they just said right that chip just sold out till 2025?
Yep.
Yep. So
So
I think NVIDIA is easy.
and
Like if it clears
yeah,
this high,
Yeah.
Like this thing could
The
rocket.
the first time where that bullish order block came in on the bottom there is where I had posted a opportunity alert. No,
Uh-huh.
like back in September of this year. And then when it came down into August
Yeah.
at 90 something dollars is where I took my first position.
Oh yeah. This is why these order blocks are so important, guys. You need to know where the buyers are sitting to give you confidence to go in heavy at peak fear.
Yeah,
Because you can buy the all-time highs, but remember when you're buying all-time highs, yes, it's price discovery, but you've already missed majority of the move.
yeah,
You might get more, but you missed it all, right? And so you're taking on risk here, which means, right, your fear is higher versus if you're buying down here and you catch this move, you're reducing exposure here and taking profits off the table and riding runners.
yep,
So careful when you guys are chasing all-time highs. It's not a bad move to do because it's an easy evaluation, right? As long as it's over all-time highs, you stay in the position, but you're missing most of the trade. So you know you wanna get aggressive when the market is fearful versus getting aggressive when the market is nearing all-time highs. You should be reducing risk and tailing off your exposure versus allocating risk into those times because you gotta think of it from a supply and demand side, right? Who are you buying that position from? You're buying it from the person who bought down here. This person is reducing his exposure by giving it to you, and you might catch a little bit of the move, but you missed the majority of the move. So that's why it's important to look for opportunities and those imbalances that T was talking about, in those places where the next rotation could take place.
yep.
So
An indicator for the order block, someone tells me.
it's order block finder. It's right here.
Is
All
it
right, 5 more minutes, guys. What do you got?
the one by Dasan C or is it
Uh,
by Mugamlo?
it's by it's by what does it say? I don't know. I posted pictures of it. It's in there somewhere.
It's
Is
excellent.
XOM due for a pullback?
We spoke,
Um,
right? I think it just had a
no,
very
XOM
strong bounce.
pullback happened. I mean, what you want to short it? I wouldn't short it unless it loses 120. I mean, you just broke over the key resistance there and bounced off of it. Again, you can see two buyers came in here. You had one buyer here when it broke it, and you had another buyer come in here when it came back down. So I don't know. I wouldn't short unless you know something that I don't. I wouldn't short unless it came below 120. Unless you want to short it to 120, you could try that, but I don't see the value in that. AMD is almost to the target. So I have AMD hitting this order block up here. It rejected again. Now, what I will say is I do not like when they break the box and come back in. So this usually looks like a liquidity grab. And so I would expect it to come back down to the low. Um, but we'll see. As far as like, does AMD look good here? Again, I would say you're late. 170 is the biggest level of exposure. This is another example, again, of where you want to buy into the fear down here versus buying up here, right? So short term, you could
For me,
play that little area.
175 is the key pivot for AMD. Above 175, you have exposure to 185, and just keep it simple like that. Break above 175 and build a base on 175 gives you 185. Rejection of
Yeah,
175 gives you back retracement into 170 roughly. And then you play
yeah,
just very simple.
yeah, yeah. I would say you
Not
did get
exactly
bought
that.
here off of this order block, so that could be a liquidity grab, right? They just came down and grabbed that liquidity real quick, and then they continue on their way. But we'll have to wait and see. Uh, 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 I
The Autobox Finder is the experimental one by Wu Gao for
think so.
Georgie, who was asking.
Yeah, if that's from the picture that I posted, then yeah, I'll double check it.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see. Lulu. I don't look at Lulu short term. I still like Lulu.
This is one to accumulate
So
shares on, but once again, if you really like the business. Do I like
yeah,
the business? I don't really like the business that much, but will I buy shares? Sure. Like just a small amount, not like a whole lot. Like this stock,
yeah,
very finicky.
yeah. Again, there's nothing telling you like, oh, this is really good. But I do like again long-term golden pocket. It's been successful for us quite a bit. So long term, I like it. I don't
35,
like it short term
35% upside exposure for value.
for valuation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I saw you post that,
yeah.
and so I was like that. Short term, 280. You need to clear 280. You can see it's pretty simple. Rejection, rejection, rejection. You need to clear 280 to get up into this order block. But as far as like, would I trade it? No, because you have no indication. Like, there's nothing indicating that this is going to go higher yet. Could get there, just doesn't have it yet.
Yeah.
So you can put it in a box.
Put it in the
And
box and forget about it till it comes out of the
I was gonna
box.
say, put it in the box and forget. Just let it do its thing, and then come back to it.
Yep.
My target for it is 420 to 445.
Not for 20.69.
What?
Is it not for 20.69?
No, dude, just 420.
It's an Elon joke. Never mind.
Oh, gotcha. Good old Elon tanked our stock.
Did you guys know the Optimus robots that were at the event were all human controlled? That's funny.
Dude, did you see what I posted? Look at this. We're living in iRobot.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I saw that. It's mad. That's actually,
I think Elon has just watched this movie and he's like, I'm just going to create everything from this movie.
yeah.
Crowd maybe pull back to 305, 307, then up. Um, it's at the tail end of the move. Again, this is another one where short term maybe, but you're at the tail end of the move. Golden pocket is 332 to 351. So broke out of the range pretty nicely. Yeah, you'd come back and back test 300 would be ideal, but you're also kind of breaking this big order block on the daily. So if it stays above this, I would expect it to close the gap up into 336.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would expect liquidity to pull this up. But yeah, back test of 300 would be, there's nothing from a gamma standpoint that really stands out. 350 is the biggest level out here. So 320, 350, that would be in line with the golden pocket. It's up here. 350. and 320, which is where it rejected. Just about. So that's kind of what you're looking at here. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. So hopefully you guys learned some stuff. 580 is going to be a really important level. So pay attention to it this week. If price closes over 580, there's a good chance that market makers will get squeezed and have to start to buy shares aggressively to cover that risk, which then could squeeze the market up into 585. Ideally, I would like to see it draw down off of 580 to give better entry, but we don't always get what we want. So, we'll play accordingly. But 580 is going to be that important level. So you'll notice that I wrote a kind of fake breakout here early on Monday over 580, kind of trap people. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out for. So other than that, I've got nothing else. So let all of you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we back Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay, Wednesday morning.
I'll post this recording on YouTube for both
Okay,
communities.
sounds good.
See y'all soon. Peace,
All right,
guys.
everyone,
Thank
take
you
it
for attending.
easy.